Hello everyone. It's been 3 months since your prelims 2025 and most aspirants who did not qualify prelims, you would have started preparing for your mains immediately after your prelims and 100 days of mains preparation. Ask yourself the question, what has been the progress made? Have you really built the content for mains? Most aspirants after prelims, a failure in prelims, they just go enroll in a test series, and what happens is through the course of test series they drop out simply because they were not able to complete sufficient content to face the test questions. So what you start doing is you postpone your tests, and after some time you slowly get detached from the mains preparation process. And if you continue on this course till December, after December all you would have is just guilt, regret that a lot of time has been wasted. So if you are an aspirant who have already started getting second thoughts about the correctness of your mains preparation, there is nothing to be worried about. Any time that is well worth spent, properly utilized, is a valuable time, right? It is something that's going to help you some way or the other in your exam preparation. And I always believe that prelims and mains preparation are always integrated. There is nothing that you can compartmentalize strictly as exclusive mains preparation that should go on till December and your prelims should start only from December. No. Right now is a good enough time to restart your prelims preparation. Just that when you restart your prelims preparation, have clear objectives, have a clear mind, clear goals, so that you don't repeat what had happened in the last unsuccessful attempt once again, right? So for those aspirants who are lost in this period of last 100 days, if you are unable to actually chart out a path forward from here onwards, so let me help you out with certain inputs of mine which can help you restart your prelims preparation. All right, so let's get into the session. So the very first task that you have to do is to simply take your Hindu newspaper and start reading it the way it is supposed to be read. The difference between those who crack this exam and those who do not crack this exam is those who crack this exam know how to utilize the newspaper. They simply not only read the newspaper, but they also utilize. This is the most important word. It's not just about reading, right? There's a lot of utilization. Hindu newspaper reading, it helps you develop various skill set that you require in your prelims. First of all, reading comprehension ability develops from Hindu reading habit. Second, when you read Hindu newspaper, when you constantly encounter facts in the editorials, or every day 2 hours you're actually dealing with solid facts, right? And those facts they keep repeating after in cycles. They keep repeating time and again. So your learning ability with respect to handling facts actually increases, right? If you feel that you have problems reading the facts and retaining them when it comes to history, if you feel that you have a problem reading and retaining things about government schemes, about economy, you don't have to do anything other than having a regular habit of reading newspaper, because some way or the other you may think newspaper has nothing to do with history. No, that's not the case. The skill of retaining facts that you read from newspaper, that's the same strengthening of your ability to retain facts when you read your history books. Of course, history has no contemporaneous current relevance, not much, but it's the skill set which matter. See, if you have the fundamental skills intact, you can actually read and master any subject, right? The mental process that is involved, the ability that is involved to crunch ideas, crunch facts, it's the same. So how do you have a daily dosage of skill development? The simple answer is Hindu newspaper, right? So how do you effectively utilize Hindu newspaper? I'll give you a way forward from here. Just simply follow it for 2 hours every single day, and I'm sure this is going to just help you at least get another 10 more marks, not simply because Hindu newspaper content is going to get you 10 more marks. The ability that you develop because of Hindu newspaper will definitely ensure another 10 more marks in both GS as well as in your CSAT. Automatically your reading comprehension ability increases. Automatically your fact handling ability in GS also increases, right? So how then can you effectively utilize Hindu newspaper? First of all, read Hindu. After you read Hindu editorial or Indian Express editorial, whatever newspaper you choose to follow, just start writing a summary, right? So what you find here on the screen is a nice question which the student herself had framed out of a Hindu editorial article, and for which she has written an answer basically from the same content that she has read from the editorial, right? This is the second level of process. The first level of process is you read the Hindu editorial without having a look at it, simply reproduce this content. Whatever you find in the editorial, don't make it like answer like, don't make it points. Just the same format that you find in paragraph format. Write the first paragraph, second paragraph, over. Let it go on for 2 or 3 months, right? And parallelly, in this manner, you will also be having exposure to previous year's questions. When you do that, your mind starts thinking about what possible question can be framed out of an article, right? So with that skill getting slowly developed inside you, you yourself will find that you can frame a question nicely, and based on that, whatever you have read from the day's editorial, try to write as an answer for 2 pages. This should be a daily habit that develops your writing skill, it develops your factual base, it develops your stamina with respect to reading, retention and writing. That's exactly the CSAT skill that you need to handle the reading comprehension passage. So all of that just comes from this one habit, right? So I would say this is the golden purpose, this is the golden use of why you read newspaper. It's simply to develop all these skills, right? So doing this would give you an interesting start into newspaper. Simply when you keep on reading newspaper, throwing it aside, you're not actually performing any activity, right? So when you learn how to perform activities, this exam preparation process becomes very simplified, and the right performance activity with respect to reading newspaper is just what I have told you right now. The right performance activity with respect to reading NCRTs is completing all the exercises given in the back of every chapter, right? So learn to perform activities, okay? That is what builds that lasting connect with the content that you have read. So reading just doesn't retain things, but doing something beyond that helps you retain ideas. So this will be the first task. So starting with newspaper is an interesting way to restart your prelims preparation, right? Next skill that you'll have to learn is learning how to browse, right? If you have been failing in consecutive prelims, and if the culprit happens to be environment and science and tech, where if you cannot get 70% of the total questions right, okay, minimum 70% you should get it right, another 10% of the questions may go wrong, at least a net of 50 to 60% questions should turn out to be right. And this can only happen with respect to science and environment if you learn how to browse properly. And for that, there is a video that I have already made. I'll share the link of the video in the description box. Go through this video, environment for CSE, why does it feel so hard and what is the way forward, right? It's a 32 minutes long video, but when you watch this video, you'll actually understand how do you take an article and how all do you branch out and go and browse and extract ideas, and after doing all those activities, how do you finally consolidate them into usable ideas for your prelims. This is the outlook that you get when you simply watch this one video, environment for CSE, why does it feel so hard. I'll give the link of this video in the description and the comment section. You can access it, right? So this will be the second plan, because once you start reading newspaper, once you start learning how to utilize newspaper, now understand that your preparation for prelims, there has to be a way in which subjects are chosen for preparation. You cannot simply choose map related areas, right, as the first and foremost subject, because what happens is in some years, like last year, not a single question was asked about Indian map related areas, not even one question. So this will never happen with respect to subjects like environment and science and tech. Every year there are going to be subjects, right? So the goal is, until December, we only focus on one subject. Let's say it is going to be environment. Until December, you become the best in learning how to browse, in learning how to make notes for environment. When you can do that on your own, it means that you are moving in the right direction. You're going to get at least 60 to 70% questions from environment, right? And that is where this video can be of use to you. Please do watch this video to get a sense of what do I mean by the right browsing habit. Because for environment, not even one question will be asked from any of the static textbooks. Science, hardly 10 to 20% questions are asked from static textbooks like NCRTs. Everything else is about current affairs. Everything else is about ideas that normally may be missed by aspirants when they simply read current affairs magazines. That's why you have to take the responsibility of browsing, extracting and consolidating ideas yourself. This is that video that can be useful in understanding what that process actually is. The same process has to be now implemented for science and tech as well. But let's fix deadlines. Environment can be taken up till December, and starting from December, you can take up science and tech, right? So understand these two subjects could be weak for you, right? If you're not weak in these subjects, then you may follow your own approach. So what is the benchmark to say that you're not weak in these subjects? Have you scored 60 to 70% score, not the questions right? at least 50 to 60% of the marks from environment and science and tech were you able to get in the previous prelims. Don't tell me you got 35% marks correct, 40% marks. No. Even this year, the same 40% would be the limit. That's why if you have already got 50 to 60% consistently, you are in the right path. Then you can skip this advice that I have told you. If not, better browse, watch this video, learn how to browse rightly, then move on. Right? So the idea is, every day when you restart your prelims preparation, the ideal prelims preparation is where every area is actually focused. I mean, I don't mean to say every subject should be focused, every area, broad area. What are the broad areas? Subjects that are more current affairs oriented, like environment or science and tech. At least one of the two subjects should be focused on a daily basis. Then there are static subjects, pure static subjects like polity or history, maybe the concepts regarding geography, right? Pure static. Maybe even if one subject is to be focused, that's still good enough. Right? Don't bring in a cocktail of subjects. Every day or 6-7 subjects have to be studied. No. Maximum 3 subjects, minimum 2 subjects. So 2 to 3 subjects, but with a decent variety. One should be from current affairs like environment. A daily preparation of 2 to 3 hours. Next is static subjects like polity. Simply take your Lakshmikant or your NCRTs and read for 2 to 3 hours and do certain exercises that I tell you. Right? And newspaper reading for 2 to 3 hours. Right? This itself is like 6 to 9 hours of preparation, and if you top it up with mains preparation, it definitely concludes your day's preparation. 10 to 12 hours of preparation every day, right? And do not be under the mistaken belief that various toppers have instructed you 6 to 8 hours is sufficient, right? But if that is the case, then what was preventing you from cracking prelims in the last few attempts, last few years? So don't hesitate to go beyond what you have mentally fixed for yourself as the study time, right? Double it. Learn to study more. The more you learn to study in one place, sit quietly, read from the books, read from browsing relevant content, less distractions on the internet you will encounter. Automatic detoxing from passing transient news, passing transient videos and information will go away. So automatically some kind of depth in your studies starts developing. Your focus in preparation actually becomes higher. So how do you prepare for CSAT? It's not like you prepare for the entire day simply working out problems. No. CSAT is more like a hobby. CSAT is more like a recreational activity. When you feel very bored reading GS, it's time you simply take 2 problems and work them out. Right? So it's not a cumbersome activity that you have to have a timetable every day and do it. No, it's more like a play thing. It's more like a play that you actually involve in, and that's the right mindset and mentality towards CSAT preparation. Right? So if you watch a video that I have earlier made, that was like 100 days before the last prelims, I would have made a video on how can you crack CSAT without any formula. But understand that is something that should be followed just 100 days before your prelims. But right now we have more than 200 days. So with more than 200 days in your hand, it's time you also develop your ability in numericals as well. So do not feel hesitant. Do not think that numericals will never come to you. You have to always focus on reading comprehension. No, everything about this exam can be learned, can be developed. And so is the case with getting numericals right as well. So you're not weak with numericals, you are just yet to explore and find out the nuances of getting numerical questions right. Correct? So don't let your attention scatter. That's the whole philosophy of this entire video. Not to let your attention scatter to every single area that you come across. No. Let us confine our thoughts to 3 or 4 areas. Newspaper is an area. Environment preparation is an area till December. Polity and history, polity or geography could be an area until December. Plus one more area, that is CSAT. Just as a play, as a recreational activity, right? Because anyway, when you read Hindu newspaper on a regular basis, which is also a part of this daily regimen, your reading comprehension is automatically strengthened. When you write editorial summaries, your ability to extract ideas from the content that you have read, which is the basic skill of reading comprehension, that is going to be developed. So 26 to 29 questions that comes from reading comprehension will automatically be developed simply by Hindu newspaper reading ability. Okay, so now what can you do with respect to mathematics oriented questions? You find out on your own the 5 themes that you are already comfortable with. Just master those 5 themes. right? For example, profit and loss. Every year there is one question that can be asked. Similarly, questions on, let's say, series A, B, C, so such kind of areas. Definitely one question every year would be asked. If not LCM and HCF based questions, one question would be asked, right? So you work out a few problems and find out 5 themes that you feel you're already strong at. You don't have to take the weakest areas, because if you're weak in an area, I feel till the end you may not really become as comfortable in those areas. There's always a hesitation inside you. There's always an underconfidence inside you. That's why take those 5 strong areas, make them the best, make them your strongest area, so that by end of December, whatever questions you face from these areas, even if the questions go to the second level, third level of difficulty, you are able to get those questions right. That is the certainty that you create. When you divert your attention towards more and more and more areas, you may not actually develop expertise in any area. So finally, if the questions from the area that you thought you were strong on the day of the exam, if difficult questions are asked from this area, you may not really encounter that, crack it, right? So that's why make sure the 5 strongest areas are made the best. Okay, and in addition, just with PYQ questions of reasoning part, because I don't think reasoning questions in any other market test series and all that, they match the exact standard of UPSC's reasoning questions, the last set of questions, reasoning questions, right? Just take the PYQs, right? Every day 2 to 3 questions from reasoning. Sit your 100% attention and focus, full concentration should be only in these questions. If you take 20 questions, you feel tired, you feel exhausted. I don't want CSAT to become exhausting. I want CSAT to become more like an interesting act, right? So that's why do not spend more than 20 to 30 minutes a day. If possible, reduce it to even 10 to 15 minutes, but every day you should have something of 10 to 15 minutes, just one problem or 2 problems. Solve it. Your mind will find out patterns of getting problems right at a faster rate. This does not come on a single day. That's why you have to do it every single day, and that to a narrow areas, right? You shouldn't just jump from one theme to the other theme, because those patterns that the patterns that you're able to recognize out of questions that are framed from one theme, right? So from the theme of LCM and HCF, different pattern of questions can be framed, different worded questions can be framed, but the core underlying idea would be LCM and HCF, right? So when you keep on facing this day in, day out, again and again, weeks and months, you will figure out that as soon as you see a question, the question may be such that there are 4 balls or there are 3 cups, you have to pour water in those 3 cups. So any different type of wording of the question can be there, but you will understand the ultimate point here is to figure out the LCM. That pattern recognition should happen inside you. That's why 5 limited areas, plus Hindu newspaper takes care of reading comprehension, plus just 2 questions from previous year question on reasoning part. A total time of not more than 20 to 30 minutes a day. This is good enough for CSAT. Alright, so start doing it. So what I am suggesting to you right now is all ways and means to make sure you don't have any regret that all this time is just wasted. Because if you're not able to understand the crux of mains preparation, after some time you will easily detach from mains preparation. It is actually easy to give up on mains preparation than to give up on prelims preparation. Because prelims preparation, it's already the content is there before you. You only simply have to know what it is. Mains, you have to first make your own content. You have to judge whether the content is right or wrong. And you have to add content beyond what your peers know. So the number of complexities involved in mains preparation is actually higher. And not everybody will be able to grasp it as well. So that's why there's a chance of giving up and moving away from mains preparation. But at least do not let the time totally go waste. Make sure that time is utilized for prelims preparation. Who knows, maybe by December, once your prelims preparation becomes remedied and if it starts going the right direction, you may feel confident to once again start your mains preparation in the month of January. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing harmful in starting your mains preparation in the month of February. Who said that from Feb to May you have to focus only on prelims? Nothing like that, right? If mains is not working right now, at least prelims. That's the whole goal of this video. All right. So static is always the king, right? Whether you learn static subjects or not, the ones who are going to ace this exam, who will constantly score 100 plus in prelims every single year, irrespective of the difficulty level of the question paper, they would have mastered at least 2 static subjects. So that should be the goal, right? And what is the test of mastering a static subject? So polity, history, and some concepts of geography, I would consider them to be static. So what do I mean by mastery of these static areas? I would say that you have mastered static when you have taken your Lakshmikant book, just open a random page, and if you're able to recollect all the ideas there, if you're able to know which all articles is discussed, everything about that page, if you're able to recollect, it means that you have mastered polity. And until that happens, you still have more task in hand, right? It's a predictable task. It's a clear task that is laid in front of you. Okay, it's not like science and tech or environment where you hope that what you read actually is useful. But with respect to polity, Lakshmikant is useful. So you simply have to do this test, right? Take a random page. It could be about official language provisions. Read those articles. If you feel that you're not able to recollect it, everything seems new, it's time you once again read and revise this chapter, right? So this is a suggestion that I would be giving for those who have already read Lakshmikant and who have already faced prelims. If you have not covered Lakshmikant, then this is not the way to do it, right? Because what happens is many aspirants, they are under this impression that they are quite good with static areas. They are quite good with polity. What do we mean by really being as good with polity? This is the test. Random page, you should be able to recollect things, right? Unless that happens, some random articles, when it is given in the examination, you will not be able to get it exactly right. You may know two other options, but that one last option, if you don't know, it's waste. It's as good as not knowing the other two options as well, right? So that is why this is the ultimate test of mastering static. Similarly, when you read your NCRTs, every single exercise given, fill in the blanks or questions to think about, right? You don't have to write full answers, but at least try to recollect what have you read from the chapter that you have read from the NCRT. Are you able to find answers for those questions from the content that you have read? So doing these exercises, that's very, very, very important. Okay, so this can be an activity that can actually happen from now till December, so that by December you feel that you will realize it yourself. This is a method of recalling what you have learnt. So in the month of December, when you open your Lakshmikant, randomly, if you see, your ability to recollect, your certainty or precision with the content that you actually see on the paper in the Lakshmikant book, it's actually very clear, it's very correct. You're not in two minds. So this has to be experienced, and only when you experience this, you can actually say you are good with polity. Until then, it's not a guarantee that it's not really correct to say that you're good at polity. Maybe in last year's prelims you could have scored 80% marks, but what about 2023 prelims? If you have scored only 40% of the marks, then actually you're not good at polity, right? So the point is to make sure, irrespective of the difficulty level of a question paper, there is a consistently good performance, and that consistently good performance can only happen when every random page in Lakshmikant is all familiar to you, and you exactly know the difference between 246 article, 247 article. At least when you look at the article, you should be able to know the exact difference. You may not be able to recollect what is article 246, but when you open the book, oh, it's about legislative relations between center and states, right? 246 talks about this idea, 247, and this is all that I have learnt about it. Everything should just flash in front of your eyes. This process is what you have to do till December. All right. So it could either be polity, or it could either be history, anything, or it could even be geography. But polity and history are the two subjects which is totally bookish in nature, because 90% of the questions that are asked from these two subjects are simply from the standard textbooks. At least in geography, these recent years, questions are asked testing the science concepts underlying the geographical ideas, right? So it's getting a little technical, but these two are simply bookish. All right, why not master these areas? 30 to 35 questions simply from these two subjects, and when you add geography also to it, another 10 more questions. So 45 to 50% questions are only from these three subjects. You are only responsible to make sure every history NCRT book that you open, all the map sites in that particular chapter, it should come to your mind, at least most map sites, right? Because in history questions in prelims, you are given three options, three places, and in which states are they located. Even if you do not know the correct answer for one of the place, that question is finished. Because the nature of options, if you are not lucky, the nature of options would not allow any room for any elimination method to work, right? So that's why development of this precision, development of this exactness in your ability to recollect what you have read from your books, that is the target That is the goal, to develop in until December for either of the two subjects, so that after December you can master the other subjects. Let's say if till December you have read polity sufficiently, now you get confident that this is actually workable, right? And in the month of January onwards, when you start facing your tests, you will realize that, oh, every single question this year I'm able to get it right. Okay, that will help you trust your process, and with that trust you will start mastering the other static subject as well, right? So this is the way to go about it. So before December, one subject should be completed. After December till May, you can take your time to master the other subject, and slowly, without even you realizing, the third subject will also be prepared in the similar fashion, right? So basically, what are we trying to do? Before December, you are finishing one static perfectly. Before December, you are simply finishing one dynamic subject like environment or science and tech perfectly. The method to read environment or science and tech, the way to browse, is mentioned in this video. And polity and history, you don't even need to have second thoughts on what should be the way to study these subjects. It is simply about attending classes, reading from the books, understanding the ideas from the classes, topping it up, retaining and connecting ideas in history with the help of reading textbooks, right? So this is the simple work that you will have to do till December. Just have this target. It could either be polity and environment, or it could be history or science and tech. Choice is yours, right? But one static and one dynamic area should be mastered in the way I have told you right now before December, all right? So that once December is over, you can start testing yourself with PYQs and test series, right? Do not keep testing yourself with PYQs and test series every single day as of now, okay? It's better to first have a complete grasp of all areas in the textbooks, because when you keep on looking at PYQs, your mind will only study those areas which are already asked in PYQs. Okay, and I don't believe that UPSC simply would ask a repetition of a question that has already been asked as a previous year's question. So your mind should not be colored with what UPSC has perceived to be important in the last few years. Your mind should grasp the entirety of a subject, and PYQs should be used as a test to figure out whether your learning methods have been right or wrong, right? So do not look at PYQs before studying a subject. No. First study a subject, learn to browse properly, okay? And maybe after that, you can start testing yourself against previous year's questions. Or let's say for environment or science and tech, why should you even look at PYQs? It's simply to understand the difficulty level of questions. It's to understand how UPSC makes certain questions tricky and challenging to handle. Just to get that sense, you can use PYQs. Do not think of PYQs as the areas to read for the upcoming years. That's a wrong perspective on PYQs. So use your PYQs and test series once a sufficient 50% of your environment topics are covered, or let's say 50% of your Lakshmikant is covered. So once a certain milestone is reached, then test yourself. Am I fit now to face a previous year's question? All right. So keep doing it. And lastly, the step that I would say is, there is no end to your mains preparation. Right? Maybe right now in the last 100 days, a lot of time might have been wasted because you may have tried reading ethics, but unless you read it with the vigor that exam is just approaching, right? The nature of preparation that you do when you know that you're writing mains is very different from the nature of preparation that actually gets into when you know that exam is just next year. All right. So for many aspirants, the last 100 days might not have worked well when it comes to your mains preparation, though you had all grand plans after your prelims failure. You had so detailed plans on how you'll make sure this year you master mains. There is a possibility that it may not have worked in according to your plan, right? Nothing to regret. Just make sure when you read all these subjects every day, look at the GS syllabus sheet, okay? Only for those areas that overlap between prelims and mains. Just for those areas, make some preparation. Let's say for polity, right? Secularism as an idea may not be really explored in prelims, okay? But issues on parliament and its functions, right? When you read about parliament and its functions and the issues that affects the performance of parliament, you will actually get to understand about anti-defection law, you get to understand about parliamentary privileges, you get to understand about the role and working of speaker. All of these areas very clearly overlap and they will be useful in both prelims and mains, right? So identify themes, identify topics. For example, in polity you have tribunals and regulatory bodies. So this is a topic which may hardly be useful in your prelims. Not even a single question has ever been asked from these topics in your prelims. But so identify topics from subjects that overlap between prelims and mains, right? For art and culture, do not read about drama or music. Instead, first focus on literature, focus on architecture, right? Focus on religious developments, so that the benefit happens in both prelims and mains. Okay, so harmonize your preparation between prelims and mains, and this process just doesn't have an end at all. Okay, there is no deadline of December. It just goes on till your 2026 prelims. All right, so let me summarize a plan for you in the upcoming months till December. Make sure you have time to study for 10 to 12 hours every day. 2 hours reading newspaper, and when you read newspaper, learn how to browse on environment as well as science and tech. Another 2 to 3 hours just reading the ideas from environment and science and tech. Another 2 to 3 hours focusing on one static subject, let's say polity or history. Right? Or if you feel that enough of browsing on environment has been done, when you have read your newspaper, so you make use of this 2 to 3 hours. Instead of spending it on environment and science and tech, make it to converge areas of preparation between prelims and mains, like these topics: polity, art and culture, modern India, economic survey, and geography. Just these 5 areas. Focus, prepare areas that converge between prelims and mains, right? So that could be 2 hours of schedule, 2 hours to read Hindu newspaper, and another 2 to 3 hours reading any one static subject, right? And when you write editorials, it takes you another 1 more hour. I think this much, if you keep on doing till December, you will never feel that your time was wasted, right? And you will anyway feel that something of mains preparation has also gone into your daily routine of preparation. You need to simply copy how you have worked till December. Just copy it for the next 6 months from January till May as well, right? Just that subjects will change. Science as well as geography or economy may enter into the basket of your preparation, right? So I'll come up with more ideas in the subsequent videos. So thank you for watching.